Hello and welcome to the Addicts Anonymous podcast. I'm your host, Jamar. Today's episode 194, and we're going to be interviewing Dusty. How you doing, Dusty?
Not too bad. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Ready to do this, buddy?
You bet.
All right, let's dive in here. Tell me about your childhood and growing up.
Childhood, nothing out of the ordinary. Great parents, family dinners, Sunday church. I mean, it was just like textbook perfect, kind of.
Yeah.
I would say.
So yeah, that's a good thing that you've had good parents. It's very rare for me to hear that. Very rare.
And that's why I don't know my excuse. You know what I mean?
Well, no,
But
it's not. I don't think it's necessarily an excuse we come up with. I think it's kind of like I think it's nature and nurture. I think you're kind of born a certain way, and the people around you kind of bring that out a little more or a little less.
I think the smarter you are, the border you get. More
Oh, this
bored
is
you.
true. Yeah, you get bored pretty quickly when you're a smart guy. They've done studies about that. They've also done studies. I heard a study that people that curse more are actually 9 times out of 10 are more intelligent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
so
not.
I say it's good that I swear a lot.
Yeah.
So, how was your social life growing up? You have a lot of friends?
Yeah, I was a jock, big into wrestling. I mean, football, baseball, track, everything. All the sports you can. Coming into my freshman year, I was in everything.
So how was life like with your friends? What were you guys do for fun stuff growing up?
Um, we would stay over to his house after wrestling tournaments. My family was big into wrestling, and their families were big into wrestling, so we were together every weekend. So we would go there and watch our tapes of our matches that we were, wrestled earlier in the day, and mom and dad would be upstairs having a couple beers, and we'd eat, and it was fun. We'd go around knocking on people's windows and doors and scare them.
Mischief.
Yeah,
So
it
you
was
would
fun.
watch the tape of the wrestling. Was that to help you practice better for next time around?
Yeah, that's so you didn't get beat.
Yeah,
Figure out
kind
how
of like what they do in football.
right, yeah, watch film on it. And now
Yes.
anymore, everybody watches film on everything, so you can't really get away with much.
Oh no, getting away with something nowadays is next to impossible nowadays.
Yeah.
Got cameras everywhere.
Yep.
So you're from what part of Iowa?
Northeast Iowa, way up in the corner. I'm like 5 miles from Minnesota.
Okay. So are you is it more like what do you call it? A smaller area up there? Like how many people were in
Yeah,
your
there's only like, maybe 6,000 people in our town.
Okay, that's fairly small.
Yeah, it's really small. Everybody knows everybody, which is a problem, when you get into being an addict in that world. I mean, you get judged by everybody in town, not just a couple, you know. But
So that was one of your major issues you faced when you got sober is the stigma.
well, yeah, trying to recreate relationships that were broken and it just doesn't work. Because the type of town that we're once you're known as something, that's how you stay. I mean, it doesn't matter. They'll hold you right to that no matter what.
And I guess it is the downfall of a small town.
Oh,
I
it's
mean,
terrible.
have you ever tried to talk to these people that look at you differently?
I've talked to the ones that I give a shit about. The ones that don't matter to me that are talking about me. I don't really care. We can't worry about all that stuff.
No, you're 100% right. If we cared about what everybody else saw, I think we drive ourselves insane.
Yeah.
I think that was one of my issues growing up. Was my dad? He cared a lot what other people thought.
I don't necessarily think that my dad cared a lot what other people thought, but he wanted me good in sports. And I mean, there was nights where we were making weight for the next morning, running to 5 miles down the road in the middle of winter, and Dad followed me with a truck to cut weight. So he was into it. I mean, we were into it serious. I went like wrestled over 365 matches as a youth wrestler.
Wow, what is an average person wrestle?
I suppose you get five, even 10 tournaments a month, 3 matches. That's 30. I wrestled 365 exactly.
That's insane.
Yeah, it was crazy. But that's what we did. My buddies, we jump in my dad's van, like a caravan, and take off, and he'd fill it up. Most of the time, the kids wouldn't even have money. Dad would just pay for them their entry fee into the tournament. We'd take 6 or 8 kids everywhere we went. It was fun. I mean, we as a kid, it was fun the way
Well,
we.
like you said, it sounds like you had a good dad.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, my dad, he was the opposite. He wasn't into sports or couldn't really care less about if I did good or not.
Yeah, I think my dad cared a little bit too much on how I did. He wouldn't talk to me for a couple days after if I lose a match. I didn't.
That's
Needless to
no
say,
good.
I didn't lose very much at all.
That's no good.
No, it wasn't. It didn't do any good for me. I know that. But I had a lot of potential. I mean, I was good, really good. So
Did you
then
make
after
your
that,
way into college?
I coached for 16 years, youth wrestling.
Okay, that's a good way to give back.
Yeah, yeah, that was fun. I took 32 kids to Iowa State tournament, placed 17 of them. That's pretty good.
That's really, really good.
Yeah,
Sounds like you're passionate about wrestling.
yeah, I am. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of work for the kids. You got to be dedicated. If you're not dedicated, you ain't gonna go nowhere. These kids are wrestling, 5 nights a week at their school, and then after they go done with their school workout, they're going to work out again with the elite program.
And they have
It's
to do their schoolwork.
yeah, that's what you got to do to be good in sports. It's so cutthroat up here. You got to work hard, or else you ain't gonna get anywhere. Well, which that's good, teach you worth ethic, but at the same time, it's kind of grueling when these seniors are not making varsity their whole all 4 years. Our lineups are so tough that it's hard to even make varsity.
I mean, I guess it's good. It gives you a little character, but you also don't want to put too much pressure on the kids.
Yeah, I think I had a little bit too much pressure because it got to me, and it should have never got to me. You
Yeah, because
know,
at the end of the day, it's a game,
yeah,
it's a match.
they want to win.
And if you don't win, it teaches you how to be a fair sportsman.
If you can have a good attitude when you lose, you learn so much. But if you have a throw my headgear at you and take off running, how most kids did in their youth wrestling days, you don't learn nothing, and it does no good for anybody.
Yeah, I mean, at least it teaches you to try and fail
Yeah.
because in life, you're never going to succeed in everything. You got to learn how to fail and pick yourself back up.
Yep.
I
I've
think
learned
that's
that.
one thing sports do. You learn that, you said?
Oh my God, tenfold. I don't know. Yeah.
So, how did you actually do in school? Did you get good grades?
Well, not so much, but when I was 17 years old, I was been a junior. I got sent to Montana to Spring Creek Lodge. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but it's
No.
like a boys' home. It's up in the mountains. I mean, you can run away from there and try to run away if you want, but the cougars and mountain lions will eat you.
Oh,
I mean,
boy.
it's that kind of place. And I was 17 and my mind was not mature like I thought it was. So when I went to this program, and there's like three different seminars you have to do: a discovery, focus, and accountability. I mean, the last seminar we were at 72 hours straight, and they get you to break mentally and physically until you freak out, which I made it 24 hours before they got me to break. But when I broke a couple of just the staff's noses, and
Explain to me what you mean by you broke.
they will say the worst things you could ever hear in your ear
Like
repetitively
what?
until you're so
Give
mad
me
you
an
cannot handle yourself and you flip out. They do
what?
that mentally break you, and it's a lot. And I mean, when you get out of there, you feel like you're Superman, though. I mean, it was that good of a experience, but in the same sense as I don't know if I need to experience it quite so young. You know, I don't. It was hard on me, a lot harder than I thought.
Yeah, it sounds like boot camp.
It was, yeah, boot camp. But yeah, so I wasn't getting very good grades, and then I ended up taking all 3 years of high school over again and graduated with a 3.8.
So you had to do high school twice?
Well, they let me do my freshman and sophomore year over because I was at that program. So yeah, so I ended up graduating with 3.8, but I had to retake it all.
At least you graduated and at least you got a that's a very good GPA.
Yeah, I didn't really. I mean, I drank a little bit. I drank in high school, but I didn't do any kind of drugs whatsoever. Remember the first time I smoked pot? My buddy was a senior in the wrestling team, and he come over from where he was at and threw me up against the wall. No toes touching the ground, choking me because I smoked a one hitter. It's crazy, but that's how it was back in the day when we were
Who started choking you again?
on my buddy. for
For
doing
what?
it,
For
for smoke.
smoking?
Yeah.
Well, he was he didn't want you to smoke.
No,
Okay.
no, no. And then I don't even want, yeah, he ended up ODing 7 years ago.
On
Like one
what?
of my, um, I couldn't even really tell you to be honest, but I know what happened. His girlfriend, he was crazy. He was an MMA fighter. He was undefeated. He was 6-1 down in Des Moines. They had these big MMA fights, and he would or MCC fights. He's online. You can look him up. But yeah, he hot shotted him with a bunch of prescription drugs and some meth and something else, and his girlfriend did it right when he got out of rehab. So yeah, he died. We're supposed to go hunting, take our kids hunting, youth hunting the next day. He said he's gonna be back at 1 o'clock, so we go set a stand, and never showed up, and never seen him again.
It's a shame.
Yeah, it is. He's a great guy. I mean, great coach. Wrestled for Iowa. Was like had everything at his palm that he ever wanted, and couldn't handle it. Couldn't beat himself.
An addiction kills, man. We mess up once, we're dead.
Yeah.
So, real quick, when was the first time you ever used anything? Alcohol,
Um,
drugs?
I was a junior in high school and I smoked with that one hitter of pot.
Oh, that was the first time you ever
That's
tried
the first.
anything.
I didn't. I was just a drinker before that.
Also, you tried drinking before that.
Yeah, I was drinking as a freshman.
What age did you first start drinking?
As a freshman, I was always hanging out with the wrestling buddies, which were all older than me. They're all seniors when I was a freshman, so that's kind of who I hung out with. Not very good influences when you're 17 years old,
No.
but everybody has fun. I mean, everybody parties in high school. You just got to keep it under control. And my parents obviously thought I wasn't going to be able to because they sent me to Montana. But after that, I graduated high school, and then when I got back, I graduated. I actually was going to wrestle, and I was ranked really high in the that messing with your screen. I was ranked really high in the state rankings, and I beat the number one kid from Don Bosco week before in Cresco. I pinned him. He was beating me like 8-0. I ended up pinning him, and we ended up winning the duel. It was huge. Anyway, I wrestled him again in Owatonna, and he double chicken winged me and ran both my shoulders both my elbows right over my shoulders, dislocated both of them at the same time.
Ooh, that sounds rough.
Yeah, he got disqualified because he stood up and run my arms over my head. But I was dead and both dislocated, so I was done for the year. So then after that, I kind of strayed away, and that's when I started drugging.
So, what was besides marijuana? What was the first drug you did?
Coke.
Who introduced you to it?
One of my friends in town in Cresco. His
Good.
brother was older. His brother was like 21 when we were 16, and he had dabbled into it. So then we went over his brothers, and first time I did, I remember doing it first time.
How
It was
did it
awesome.
feel?
Euphoric. It was great. And you sit there and talk for 3 hours, and we didn't leave in our apartment. There's like six of us. We just all sat there and talked. It's kind of all right. It wasn't nothing bad about it. We didn't go and do something stupid.
Yeah, I find drugs so they usually don't lead you to do anything stupid. I think that's alcohol usually. I'm not sure why that
Yeah,
is.
yeah, alcohol. Yeah, I used to get in a lot of fights and drinking.
Yeah, I've never
Alcohol,
seen someone get angry on drugs. My
right?
personal experience. I'm sure it's happened
Yeah,
because
it's
everything's
happened.
happened once.
I was really mellow by it. If I wasn't, I'm ADD. I'm talk a lot, and that's what my parents can tell when I was high is when I would just wouldn't talk. But I never really. I mean, that was all after I graduated high school until I got into anything like that. And the coke led. He was, I guess, his girlfriend was cooking meth. So next time we went over there to do coke, we ended up doing meth because of that.
Did you
So that
like the
was
meth?
yeah, it was coke, but it lasted longer.
That's how it feels. Coke, but lasts longer.
I think so. Yeah, cheaper too.
Yeah, I've never done it.
Oh, good. Don't ever.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not on my bucket list
That's good.
because I would
But
probably love it because I love Adderall.
oh yeah,
And the only difference is Adderall is a methamphetamine, and crystal meth is an amphetamine.
right.
So the
But
difference is the methyl. I forget, or am I reversing it? Well, nonetheless, the one has methyl in it, and that's the only thing that makes it different. Is that
you know,
compound?
yeah, and it just that feeling never goes away. You know that you're chasing that. So until I was, I did meth probably from when I graduated till I was 21. I worked at a factory a third shift, making like $40 an hour. So I was making tons of money, which didn't help at all.
Yeah.
But so
See. No, you go.
it was third shift, so I was up all night there and get off at 7 in the morning, and yeah, it just kind of fit in well.
Were you using drugs while on the job?
Yeah, but at that job, yeah, and we would, yeah. There's three other guys that were on that shift that were doing it, and then I just went in and started doing it with them guys when I got on third shift. So it wasn't a very good idea.
What kind
Yeah,
of stuff were you doing in the factory? Was it dangerous to be high?
no, we just either snort a line or smoke some on break. We never do it in while we're working, but
Okay.
on break.
So at what point did it get bad?
I would say like 20 when I turned 21. That was the worst. I remember instead of going to the bar and hanging out with my buddies, I was at a house smoking tinfoil. You know what I mean? And that was my
Crystal
birthday.
meth?
And that's when, yeah, then got introduced to the needle and all that good shit.
Oh no.
And it was anhydrous ammonia meth, so it was the best, the best. It was really good. I mean, really bad, but really good.
No, yeah, I know what you're saying.
So yeah, and before that though, the original how it all started, how I even got an inkling for it is because I was at SMI building pallets, a pallet factory, and these pallets weigh 80, 100 pounds. And you're building like three, four, 500 of them a day. And your body just takes a toll. And I had put my back out really bad, and I went to the hospital, and they gave me 100 hydrocodone. Well, I would just give them to my buddy Todd. I just give them to him because I didn't like them. Well, I remember the first day I took one, I was at noon, and my back hurt really bad, and I took a half of a five, one half of a Lortab, a 500, and I built like 460 some pallets in from noon till 3:30, making like $65 an hour. So that was yeah, and so I decided to take one of my own pills. Well, that led to one, a half of one every noon until it was one, then it was two, and that goes. Before you know it, if I didn't have 50 of them, I wasn't going anywhere. On vacation, nothing. That kind of rules your life for a while,
Yeah.
which is stupid. But
Yeah, we do stupid shit.
I wish I'd have never took that half of one. Should have just kept on giving them to my buddy. I always made fun of him. I'm like, oh, you'll never see me doing that. Getting addicted to pills. There's no way. But I went through that for 3 years, and then I quit everything myself. And then I ended up getting beat up in Des Moines. I don't know if you looked that up or not, by two cops really bad.
Why? What happened? What'd you do that they
Well,
arrested you?
we were at state wrestling, and my nephew was wrestling. And after the session, we're gonna go up to the bait shop and have a beer at the bar. It was like already quarter to one. It was already almost closing time for the bars in Des Moines. So we went down there. We had like two beers, I think, maybe. And we were walking back because you had to walk basically across town to go to this cab stand where everybody met there, and then the cabs would pick you up at about bar time to take you home. So it wasn't clustered downtown. So we were walking up to this taxi cab stand, and this girl come flying out of the crowd with a guy behind her, and he took her to the ground, put his knee in the back of her head, and he was pulling at her hair. And she's bawling, she's screaming hysterically, crying, "Stop, you're hurting me," all this other crap. And I just asked him, I said, "What are you doing? It's a girl. I mean, you're a guy. What are you doing?" We turned around and maced me. And then the other cop that was working with him maced me. And they both just beat the living holy hell out of me.
That's crazy.
Oh, it was bad. Yeah. If you get time, look up City Des Moines versus Dusty Burnicle. You'll see it. It's got all kinds of basically interviews on it. I
That's
finally
crazy.
got that. Finally got that cop fired last April. It took me that
Good,
long to get fired, and I took $750,000 from the city of Des Moines
good.
in a lawsuit because we made it went federal. I mean, it was the only excessive force case that's ever went federal ever.
I'll definitely look that up.
Yeah, you'll see it. And now they refer to my case. It tells you how many times they've referred to your case, and it's like 2,500, 3,000 already. They've used about Bernicle versus the city of Des Moines as an example how they do in court. Lawyers go.
Yeah, like a
Yeah,
precedent.
but I mean, it's down there. It's bad. The cops just don't care. They think they're above everybody else, and they go down there to kick somebody's ass and get some tension out, and it just happened to be me. And I couldn't fight back. I knew after they told me, threw me on the ground and were kicking me and stuff, that they were cops because they said, Des Moines Police Department, stop resisting. I said, stop hitting me in the face and I'll give you my hands. Until then, I'm not giving you my hands. That hurts. And they kicked me, and then one of the cops from behind me kicked me between the legs, and I bellied out. I was done after that. I
Shitheads.
cracked my eye socket, broke some ribs, messed up my knee, my back, my hip. It was yeah. I was in the hospital for a couple days.
Shitheads. Like I said, that's all I could say. What a bunch of
You know,
shitheads.
there's good cops. Don't get me wrong, there is, but there's some nasty people that do not
Oh
need to have.
yeah. It's like
And he did
anything.
it after he beat me up. He did it to an 18-year-old girl, a 17-year-old girl, because there was supposed to be a school fight, a gang fight or something like that, or a school fight. And this girl ended up getting lippy, and he did the same thing with her. Grabbed her right by the back of the ponytail and slammed her on the ground. Cost him Des Moines another 70 grand. After mine was like 996,000 or something like that. It was bad. And he was still a cop after that. I'm like, what the heck, you guys? But yeah, there's these old ladies and they were fighting like crazy to get him fired, and they finally got her done. Leave it to old ladies; they'll get it done if you need it done.
Oh, I'm happy for you that you got everything handled the right way.
Yeah, it was a grueling couple weeks. I have to say that. Not very much fun
Yeah.
because we were in jury trial, so we had like a 7 day. We had court scheduled for 14 days. 7 days we were in the middle of it, and we decided whether we were going to go on to the second flight or not. And it was Thanksgiving, and as soon as the judge said that, okay, now we're going to the second flight of this trial, all the jury's like, oh my god, it was Thanksgiving the next day. So the district attorney came up with a number, and if we would have kept on going, we'd have took them for a lot double what I got. But it was Thanksgiving, and I was like, I don't want everybody to be away from their families, and that was just stupid. That'd be greedy on my part. So I just took it and settled and got out of there, sent everybody home. But the lawyers were awful greedy. He had four of them.
So let me ask you this. At what point in your life did you realize you had a drug problem?
Well, I would say it was after, of course, all the Des Moines stuff. And that was 5 years I went through eating more painkillers than I was on before that. I was like, I had 450 hydros and 60 oxys and 200 tramadol a week or a month. That's what I was prescribed after they beat me up. I was all beat up pretty bad. And then after that, when I went in there to take a drug test for them, and I didn't have anything in my system because I had quit 10 days before that, before I went to the doctor, and it was the worst. I don't know if you've ever withdrawn from pills, but it's the worst withdrawal. I mean, it hurts everywhere. Everything sucks bad. And I had that for 10 days. And, day 3 and 4 is where you really start to wonder if you're going to make it through it.
Yeah, no, I've been through painkiller withdrawal.
That sucks, doesn't it? And I mean, the way you ache and the way it hurts, the chemist that's sitting in there designing that should be strangled. I
Yeah,
mean, that's not even right. I remember
yeah.
when we took Darvocets when if we had a backache, it was all that was the extra strength Tylenol. Now like all these painkillers, every one of them was addicting. And there's not one painkiller that helps you it's not addicting. I don't get it. Why do you have to do all that? You know,
And as of now, they just haven't found something that's non-addictive that works as much as a narcotic.
I don't think it works for this shit anyway. Really. I mean, think about it. They say that if you're on them, your pain hurts 10 times more because your receptors in your brain, it's firing 10 times, making you think it's 10 times worse than this. Because when I quit on my own, I thought that I broke my back because I owned a tree service, so I just kept working. And the first 3 days it hurt so bad, I thought I just kept on working and broke my back or something. But 2 months later, my back don't hurt to this day, not one bit. So I don't know. I think they do that to you to get you more addicted to them or something. I don't know.
So what did you do when you realized you had a drug problem?
Went to rehab
Went to rehab.
down in Florida.
How
Yep,
how was that?
awesome. Florida, I highly recommend it if anybody wants to go to rehab and get into a good program. Horizon. There's a couple of them down there, that my buddies are working at. But yeah, it's just a great program. Everybody's down there for the same reasons. Everybody's really serious about getting sober, and it's very, very, it makes it easy. It makes it a lot easier when everybody's there for the right reasons, rather than a couple strays off in the bathroom doing lines or something like that. They snuck some stuff into treatment. It's like, what are you here for? If you're gonna be here to do drugs, just go home. Don't get all of us wrapped up in your bullshit. But yeah, so I did a 30, I think it was 32 days, and I graduated. Came home, and I made it 8.5 months. I think it was closer to 9, but I would say 8.5 months. And I just got a huge job offer up in Rochester, Minnesota, with an insurance bank company. And they own like three different branches of banks and insurance, supplemental and regular insurance, all kinds of stuff. So they're loaded. I went in there for the interview that morning, and I went to Rochester. We said, I don't know, this was Perkins, but it's something else now, and ate breakfast. And they all these CEOs interviewed me of this Heritage Mutual insurance company. So I had all these CEOs just firing at me, and I just rocked it. For some reason, everything just fell. I had the job, but I had a tree service. And I was used to making 100 grand a year, and I needed that money just to maintain what I had bought. So I said I can't take the job unless I have some salary. So they're going to give me 50 grand in salary plus commission. And when my commission overrid my salary, they would take the salary away. So I had to just made. And I got in the car on the way home, and I just was all jacked up about it. And my cousin called me and said that her heater didn't work, and it was like 20 degrees out, so it's colder than hell. So I drove from Rochester all the way to Waterloo, which is 2 hours. And I got into her house. I flipped the inside flap, exactly what I told her to do, and she said she did, and it didn't work. When the heater kicked right on. Well, she handed me a bong at the same time.
Oh,
Yep. So I took the torch and lit it, and it took a huge hit. I remember it going down my throat, and I tasted it, and I was like, wow, this is not what I expected at all. I know the taste of methods. I was doing it for how many years before this? It wasn't. And I got a sharp pain in the back of my head, like somebody stabbed me with a knife and then started cutting up the back of my head. And I couldn't even see, the pressure was so much in my head, from doing the drug or whatever. And then I was there for, I don't know, she had to go to work that night. She worked night shift, and I had this headache, and I said, well, I'll just go home, and if my headache's gone, I'll lock up your house. No worries about anything. And so it was fine. Well, she come back after a 14-hour shift. At this point, I've been laying there for 27 hours, stroked out. I had a hemorrhagic stroke, and that means I blew a blood vessel in my brain. So I blew it out. So it was bleeding internally. I had blood coming out of my ears, my eyes, everything. And I was coagulating blood because and my stomach was full. So yeah, I laid there for 27 hours, stroked out, for my kid having to find me, which is a miracle. I gave him my Apple ID for some reason and password the night before. I don't know why I did, but he pinged my phone and found me and came and got me, took me to the hospital in Waterloo. Then they flew me to Iowa City, and I had a massive stroke. So yeah, that's what you get for relapsing just once.
yeah. What was it that you smoked?
It was supposed to be meth, but it wasn't. There's some weird odd pill in there. I don't know what it was, and there's methamphetamine, amphetamine, and yeah, it was just meth. It was just, I was 9 months clean. My body was like, no, I don't want that anymore. So, my blood pressure just skyrocketed, you know. And plus, I drink pre-workouts before I go cut trees down, because I was up in the bucket all day cutting trees. I got a good workout in every day. But yeah, that was a hard thing to wake up to in Iowa City. I had I mean, this nurse, and she was, I'm not even joking, she was this far from my head, my nose, when I woke up. And she's like, "Do you know where you're at?" And I said, "Heaven." And she's like, "No, you're in Iowa City. You had a stroke." And I said, "How bad?" And she's like, "Can you feel your left side?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I can feel it." She goes, "Well, move your left arm." And I went to my arm and nothing. I went to my leg and nothing. My face was all drooped out. It's all really released all the muscles. So my cheek was all drooped, and it was honestly, it was horrific. It's terrible. Wake up to one, everybody always hear when rehab, "Oh, this is my fifth time in rehab or my seventh time in rehab." And no, I relapsed one time. I took one it was a big hit, but off the bong. And that's what relapsed me. And that's what stroked me out. It's just because my body was so used to not being high, and it liked it that way, and you throw that chemical in your body and it reacts that fast, your blood pressure is going to spike, you know. And I hadn't done it for a long time, so I wasn't immune to any of it. And I didn't feel like, I mean, it did anything to me at all. I wasn't high at all. My head hurt bad. It was something that I'll never forget. Somewhere in the mix of it, I don't know if it was when I was in the hospital or when they were doing brain surgery or what, because they took out my skull plate. This whole plate, my skull was gone. They had it stitched up because I had to relieve the pressure in my head. It was so much in there that I couldn't, I couldn't. There's so much pressure. So I was in a coma for 10 days medical, and then they woke me up. I realized what I had happened, and mom and dad found me a really good rehab facility in Ankeny, Iowa, on the life. And 3 days later, I was walking again, or I mean, not walking, but they had me up on a cane. And then, yeah, 3 years of straight physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy, and I'm here, which was a lot. I mean, that's 3 years is a long time.
Yeah, it is a long
Hoping,
time.
hoping you're gonna get something back, and the strokes are different for everybody. That's why they don't know anything about them. But you can just wake up and your arm will work. There's people that been having it not work for 6, 8 months, and then all of a sudden wake up one morning and everything's fired and it works fine. Yeah, I'm not so lucky. I worked out 3 times a day for 3 years and it didn't come back. So harsh reality on that.
So as of right now, how long have you been sober?
Um, since October 9th, 2019.
Okay, so a good amount of
Well, I
time.
mean, they gave me oxys and stuff when I was in there, but that's just for my headaches. I guess if you want to be completely clean, I guess it's been since I left there because I didn't take another oxy. Still haven't to this day.
Well, I don't consider you slipping if you use it as prescribed. Like if you really need it and the doctor gives it to you, that's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
So
when it's when you decide that it's okay on your own without a doctor's opinion. That's a problem, at least in
yeah,
my opinion.
and I had a relapse in the middle of that too, where I just had a bunch of relationship issues that I was dealing with, and I just decided to escape for the day. And yeah, so I did some and told my family I thought they were gonna kill me, which they probably should have, but thank God nothing happened, or I didn't have another stroke. But it just ain't worth it anyway. The drugs these days, I don't know. I feel bad for kids if they're gonna try them because you don't even know what you're getting anymore. You could
Yeah,
die with very easily.
there's fentanyl and everything.
Stupid. Yeah. So I mean, then that's when that was the last day I ever did any of that. And then I've just been in stroke, and PT and OT and speech therapy since 2019, October 19th, October 9th. So yeah, I broke up with the person that I was with when I had my stroke, and then started dating another girl, and we had Briella, that little girl that you just seen since then. So I don't know. It's getting better, I guess. There's days that suck bad, and I have to just swallow and deal with it because it's a decision that I made personally. And I know that with all the addict talk and all that crap, but it was consciously my decision. I knew, and I didn't even think about saying yes or no. I just grabbed it and did it. I grabbed the bong and fired up the torch and hit it. It was just a reaction almost. It was crazy, but yeah, sucks. It can happen to anybody. I didn't get the lucky chance to go and relapsed 5 or 6 times to go to treatment again. I didn't do that. I had one shot, and and my Toro cards were read down in Florida by a guy that was in rehab, and he said that if you pick up again, you're gonna die. I mean, that I did read had him read 3 times, and every time it's the same thing. If you pick it up, you're gonna die. Then I picked up and ended up in Iowa City with a stroke, so it was pretty close. I remember when I was either in the hospital or I don't know, I was after I had stroke. I think I was in the hospital, and I remember walking to a garage, like a garage door, but it was so bright in this garage you couldn't see nothing. All you could do is you could smell really, really good food, which I love really good food, and people were laughing, like having a good time, and that was obviously what I was attracted to is people out partying or having a good time, and I was heading right to that door, and right before I got to the door where I could see anything, I heard somebody yell my name, and I turned around, and it was um my dad and both my boys were standing there, and I just turned around and walked back. I don't, I'm not sure what it was, but that light was so bright, and I still like when I go outside. If I don't have sunglasses on, I can't see. It's just it blinds me for some reason. But yeah,
So let me ask you this: what do you do to stay sober? What helps you in your daily life?
routine and stay busy. I have an acreage. I have 27 acres in my older farmhouse, which I remodeled most of it. I mean, and its upkeep on that is just enough to keep one guy busy all the time. That doesn't have only one arm, so I'm constantly on the go. You gotta keep going or keep busy in that way. I don't out of sight, out of mind. It works for me, I guess.
Yeah, I've said it before on the podcast. The good old fashioned saying, "An idle mind is the devil's playground." So it's
Yeah,
definitely good to keep busy.
yeah.
So getting towards the end here, let me ask you this: do you have any advice for people watching and listening?
You know, it's not what it used to be. I mean, you might have heard your family or parents talking about doing drugs in high school or whatever, but it's not like that anymore. One shot, one time relapse, and you could be your last time walking. I mean, that's something to think about. I thought I was the only one that had a stroke when I relapsed, but there was people that were actually down at the place I was at that got in a drunk driving accident, was doing, fentanyl and ended up, same place I was. And you just can't do it. You can't. I mean, make a wise, conscious decision not to do it because you're gonna want it after that if you do it. So don't do it anyway. Maybe not anymore because it's all junk and caught with whatever, but just stay strong. I mean, I talked to a school down in Iowa City. It was probably last year, and they had a bunch of people that were having ODing in their bathroom in the school, like actually in the bathroom dying, 7 of them. And I was talking to people that were coming in on the flight that just had a stroke or were just fresh into it, fresh into rehab, and just talking to them about how I did it and it gets better. Trying to basically just give them positive advice. And so then this mom asked me if I would talk at the school. So I walked in just blindfolded, never done anything like this, never talked to anybody ever in my life about it. I've never even told my story out loud, I don't think. And yeah, I ended up talking to there's 356 kids that were supposed to attend this meeting. And I made them all stand up and I told if you've ever tried anything, if you took a sip of alcohol, took a cigarette, you took anything that was illegal for you at the time, sit down. And there was one kid that stood up, that was standing at the end of this. 300 and some odd people sat down, and then one kid was the one standing up. So I made a point to bring him out and say, if you see this guy anywhere in the town, you make sure you give him a high five because you don't know how hard that is. To not do anything at all. But yeah, so that was kind of humbling. But I have my stroke recovery. My girlfriend at the time videotaped all my recovery steps, like when I started to walk again, when I started to move my arm and started to talk, and so she had it all documented. So I know it's like 17 minutes long, and I played this before I'm going to talk to the school, thinking that they'll give me a way in. Well, I get done with this video, and everybody in the whole school is crying. The staff is crying. I'm crying. I'm like, I don't even know. And the energy was dead. I couldn't, I thought I was just going to turn around and walk away. I was going to walk out because they couldn't do it. And for some reason, I had my mic on my head waiting to talk, and I said that, and I got PTSD, and everybody in the whole place just started laughing. Got all my energy back, and I talked for an hour about my story, and don't remember a lot of it, but I guess it was good.
It's good that you're giving back and doing stuff like that.
Yeah, it was just kind of nice to be able to have that many kids all listen. Listen. They were, and it wasn't like they were talking or fucking around, because all the people that have been relapse or been ODing in the bathroom, they have to listen. And hopefully, if you, like I said, if you can help one person out of the 356, I'll be happy. Just stop from doing it. Because the first time is the one you don't want to do.
Yeah. All right, so I think that's a good place to end. Let me ask you, how you feeling? Did you enjoy doing the podcast today?
Yeah, it's nice, and I'm glad you're doing that. I thought about actually doing the same thing you were doing. It's just interviewing people and letting them tell their story, and kind of, I don't know, that was good. I liked it.
Yeah,
And this
thank
helps.
you.
That it helps you just as much as it helps me. I mean, that's the way I am.
Oh yeah,
I
this stuff definitely helps me. It keeps me sober.
Yep, it does. That's for sure.
All right, my friend, do me a favor, sit tight. And for everybody watching and listening, if you like what you saw and heard, go below and give us a like. Also, subscribe to see when we upload new videos. You can check us out on all social media: Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Tumblr. I also suggest checking out our website, www.addicts-anonymous.com. There is plenty of free resources and free literature on the site. So that's all we have for today. I hope you enjoyed. And until next time.
Thank you.